Hi everyone, this is the second video in my series on new generative AI tools for creation and development. And today I'm going to be talking about Claude Projects, which is not necessarily a very new tool. I think it was released in June of 2024, so it's been well over 6 months. But I do like some of the themes that Projects is getting at and some of the new ways of interaction that they're developing. So one of the things I really want to get at is we can expect that LLMs and generative models are going to continue to get better and more powerful, right? And so a lot of these are getting increasingly more commoditized. Many more groups are developing the ability to create more powerful models. And I suspect they will find their way into every part of our engineering workflows as well as our creation workflows. So take that as a given, that this is going to continue to develop, and that's going to be a trend moving forward. But I think one thing we still need to figure out are how these new models, these very powerful new models, will introduce new UIs and UXs for collaboration. And that's collaboration along two axes. One is collaboration with the models themselves, so collaboration with AI, I as a creator working with an AI as a co-pilot of sorts. And then two, collaboration with other team members. So how do I as a developer using generative systems or a creator using generative systems in isolation then go and collaborate with other team members or colleagues so that we can, as an organization, continue to reap the benefits of these systems. So there's really two facets of collaboration that I think we're going to continue to develop moving forward as a community developing these tools. And something I'm very, very excited about is seeing how we're starting to rethink these collaborative modalities. But today I really want to dive into projects. I think projects is a really cool new way of thinking about some of these ideas, specifically around collaboration with a system, Claude in this case, and then collaboration with other team members. And so for the purposes of this hopefully very short video, what I really want to do is to work through the process of developing a neat little toy project. And the project that I want to develop is that of an investment memo assistant. So it's a bit of a funny task to be tackling, but the context here is that a lot of investors tend to write memos when they're considering investing in new companies and considering investment opportunities. And so they will usually develop some sort of a explanation of the details of the company they're evaluating, maybe some of the competitive analysis, some of the product attraction, and then typically some proposal for an investment amount that these investors are proposing to their other colleagues. And these memos typically have very structured format and are a bit predictable in how the format they take. Of course, they are tailored to every company that is being evaluated, but the structure is very, very similar. And so what I thought was like, well, why can't we just go and build this ourselves and maybe develop a system that can very quickly generate these kinds of memos? In particular, what I'm going to be doing is developing such a memo in the context of a hypothetical new company called Woof. And Woof is just a company that is being used, or is proposing to use, an app that allows dog owners to find other dogs that they can play with. So dogs are also very social creatures, and a lot of dog owners like to have play dates with their dogs. So how can we go and do this? Well, Woof is this brand new company that is proposing a novel new app and way of doing that. And they're developing a marketplace to do this. And so, I, as an investor, am looking to invest in Woof because I think they're really going to take off and change the world of dog socializing. They're starting with dogs, but eventually they'll go to other animals. So, we want to get in early in Woof's development and their life cycle as a company. So, projects, Claude Projects, in this case, is a powerful way of developing and interacting with Claude. And the things that it really highlights and what it really specializes in is learning the style of the user. So I, as a user of Claude Projects, can upload different writing samples or code samples and really aggregate all these different samples, and Claude will learn to infer the structure and stylistic details of these things that I'm uploading. And so this is perfect for us because we, as an investment firm, have written many memos, and so we can just have Claude learn from all the memos that we we've written in the past. And then we'll have it use that knowledge that it's learned, apply that to new memos. And so let's just do that real quick. All right, so let's dive into developing our first project. We're going to call this the Investment Memo Assistant, and I want to build a system that can help me write new investment memos. In this case, we are writing a memo for Woof, a new company we want to invest in. All right, let's create this project. Great. So in this case, we have the Claude interface that we know and love, and we can change the style of the output that Claude creates. Different kinds of stylistic writing outputs, from normal, concise, making it a little bit more brief, something that's a little more explanatory, and something that is a little bit more formal and structured. And so we'll use formal for the purposes of this assistant, because we're building a memo, we're writing a memo. And what's interesting here, and this is one of the real highlights of the Claude Projects interface, is we can upload different kinds of content, right? And the content here can take many different file formats, but for our purposes, we're going to use this to actually upload past investment memos that we've written, as we described, and as well as some of the notes we've written about Woof. Now, how do we get in past investment memos? For the purposes of this demonstration, I was able to actually go on the website for Bessemer Venture Partners, which is a very, very famous venture firm, and they've actually included some of their past investment memos, just made them publicly available. Those include Shopify, obviously a very good investment. Other good one here is Pinterest, also a very good investment. Yelp, of course. So they do seem to make the ones they did very, very well on public. But it's cool, nonetheless, a very cool thing they've offered to the public is seeing what these investment memos look like. And so they tend to have a very predictable structure, as I said, typically some sort of high-level summary, market analysis, product information, something of business model, competition, so competitive analysis, something about the team, the deal that is being proposed, some of the risks around the deal, and then different scenario analysis, like what's the likelihood that the company goes bust, exits for a certain amount of money, or IPOs. In this case, obviously a lot of these companies IPO'd, and then some conclusion. So again, a very predictable structure. And then, in writing our investment memo, I have just been, as an analyst, as an investor, have been just going really aggressively trying to take as many notes as possible, just form some sense of doing all this research on Woof. That includes user interviews, so people that are users of the app, just gotten their feedback on the app itself. Different things like market analysis, the opportunity, of course, from a competitive landscape standpoint, and the ecosystem that this product exists in, strengths, challenges, etc., and then random notes. And so this is just kind of a dump of notes that I, as an investor, have been writing as I'm trying to evaluate this company. So let's go and do that and upload all that to this collection of artifacts. So what we'll do is we'll literally just copy paste a lot of this stuff into the Claude interface. And so it is adding all this content. So these are some memos, Shopify, Fiverr, Pinterest. I've gone and I've downloaded the HTML of the memos from the Bessemer Venture Partners website, converted it into PDF, uploaded those PDFs. And then the other thing I want to include is these notes about Woof that I've written that I showed earlier. So let's get started. So now we have all the knowledge that constitutes sort of the stylistic, past stylistic examples that we've had when writing past memos, and then also the notes that we've written on Woof. So now that we've uploaded all of the content from past memos as well as our notes, let's start by having Claude use that information to write an outline for our new investment memo. And then we'll have it fill in the sections of the memo piecemeal. So I have uploaded a few past memos from previous investments our venture capital firm has made. I've also uploaded some notes about Woof, the company we are evaluating. Write me an outline for a investment memo about Woof. So we'll have it start doing that. Now I'm doing it in this way. I want to break it up into sections first and foremost, and then gradually start, beefing up and adding the kind of the meat of each of the sections. And in that way, it becomes more of a collaborative dialogue between myself and Claude, and it allows me to interject with any feedback I might have, or iterate on different sections that maybe I didn't like the first pass, wanted to improve it or maybe add some new information. And I like that approach a lot more because I think it makes what may be a fairly challenging task a little bit more manageable, and we can just really have the system build out every single section one at a time. So we got a pretty nice outline here, and we're going to go and so it kind of follows the structure of the memos that we've seen, which is really encouraging. So it's learning from those artifacts that we uploaded, and now we can go and start to develop these sections. It's even prompting us to do so. Yes, let's write each section in more detail, one at a time. Okay, so we have some notes about the recommendation, and this is pretty nice. The recommendation is pretty formal, and even outlining the particular amount of money that we're going to invest in Woof, highlighting some of its growth in different markets, and even structuring it as what kind of round it would be, including the pre-money valuation. And so, Claude is actually quite good at writing investment memos. And I think for this particular case, I don't believe I included these particular details about investment amount in the notes. I don't think I have any of that information. So it is hallucinating here a little bit, but I suspect that if we had given that information in the notes, it would have just used that. And we'll see later how it is able to leverage some of the notes that I've included. But this is pretty solid, right? And this is looking pretty good. Yes, let's continue. So it's telling us a little bit more about the product itself, and even some of the details of how the product has been developed. Again, hallucinating a little bit. I don't think I included any of this information about App Store ratings per se, but let's see, maybe some information that we would like included here. I think it'll eventually, as we get to more information around TAM and competitive analysis, I think it'll start to include some of these details, like the actual numerical figures here. But yeah, let's just keep going. This is already pretty strong. Yes. Continue. Okay. 3.4 playdates per month. So let's just interject here a little bit, because maybe this particular thing we want to modify a little bit. Specifically, it's how many users, what percentage of users return weekly. So actually, only 40% of users return to the app weekly. Cool. So it updated that little piece of information, that particular numerical detail, which is great. That's looking pretty good. And let's dive into the market opportunity. Yes. Talk about the market opportunity and use our notes. Great. So we can see here is the system is getting pretty good at used information about how many dogs there are and what percentage of American households have dogs, which is exactly what's included here. And also did some calculations, or leveraged some of the calculations we did about TAM, in particular how much, if we charge $5 a month across the number of potential users, what does that amount to in terms of achievable market. So that is also great. Also included that information here. And let's say for our purposes that we also have a plot that we would like to include about the growth of WOOF over time. And so what we can see is we actually have an actual graph of growth in revenue over time over the last few months. And so we'll have Claude leverage that information. So we would like to actually have Claude use that plot that we have to inform some of the way it's writing the memo. So we have this WOOF month-over-month revenue growth. So we'll include that here. Open, and we'll say use this plot of revenue growth as well in the memo. Awesome. So it's actually gone ahead and updated some of the past sections, in this case, the stuff we'd written about traction and metrics, and included information about the growth in revenue over time from January, about 5K to about 23K in December, which is consistent. 5K in Jan to about 23 or some K in December. So it's really neat that here we're priming Claude to actually interpret the visual of this PNG file, which is just a plot, and then having it actually interpret that information numerically, and then actually write about it in the appropriate section for a memo, which is just awesome. I mean, this is like the best of both worlds, which is super powerful AI model, interpreting a visual modality, interpreting the information, injecting it into a textual modality, and just all in the service of our downstream goal of creating an investment memo. I mean, wow, that's just insane. Like AI of today, just absolutely incredible. All right, let's keep going with the, yes, let's continue. And look, all I'm really doing is just telling it to continue. It's following its own outline, as long as I approve the outline, and I'm just going ahead and going, yep, this looks good, this looks good. Of course, if I don't think something looks good, I can just interject and have it fix something. And we'll see later if we want to maybe have it use some of the user testimonials that we had. Yes, let's go. I mean, this is just very detailed, touching on every single part of what an investment memo could be, from competitive analysis to unit economics to usage in users over time. I mean, just insane how much it knows about these things. And great, it's following the section, the format of some of the past investment venture partners memos, talking about risks. Yes, let's go. And I'm just telling it to go. Granted, you can spend more time reviewing some of the output and make sure that it really does follow the format of what you would like to see. But I mean, for a first pass where I'm just literally clicking through and just telling it to, yeah, keep going. I mean, you got this, champ. That's just Copilot on steroids right here. Keep talking and going ahead with the deal terms. One call out here is that as the chat gets longer, I think we're reaching the limits of Claude's context window, and typically in this situation we'd want to maybe break it out into new chat, sort of export some of the memo that we've already had, and then reinsert it into our project just so we can continue to have continuity of the memo as it exists. Now, I suspect that as context windows get, as they tend toward infinity, where we can just have an infinitely long context window, this is the little hack that we would have to come up with. Just won't be relevant anymore. Yes, please give me a plot. Please include a table of outcome possibilities. And see, it's even able to work through some of these different scenarios around risks and just different ways, different outcomes around you know, key assumptions that lead to certain exits for the company and what the probability of those exits are and how much of a return we'd make as an investment firm. Just awesome stuff. I mean, this is so cool. And let's finish it up. Yeah, finish it up. Awesome. It's gone ahead and wrapped it all up. Let's just, I don't think it's had anything to, it never included some of those user testimonials that we did. So let's tell it to please include some of the user testimonials we did. We included in our notes. Here it is talking about. See, included a section under in the memo under section 2, the WOOF service. So when it's talking about the product, and included user experience community feedback, and talking about Ryan and Linda as well as Jessica. So these are all Ryan, Linda, Jessica, all dog owners. So at this point, we have all the sections together. We could literally just have Claude as a system, aggregate it, put it all into one output format. I think the call out that I'll make here is when you do tend to aggregate the system outputs, I've tried to directly have it output to PDF, but I think typically what it'll do is it'll output it first to Markdown, and I haven't really been able to get it into other file formats. But that being said, you can get a Markdown version of the memo, paste into an editor, and just export it to PDF, which is not a big issue at all. And I suspect they'll add output formats in the near future. But this is still incredibly cool. I mean, we did this in a handful of minutes, and of course, huge time saver. I will say that one call out is where we'd actually write this investment memo, we would want to be a lot more diligent about checking the numerical outputs where Claude has included numbers, because we do want to be very accurate, especially as we're considering a multi-million-dollar investment in a company. So we want to be very careful about those things and really fact check in a lot of ways and ensure there's not any hallucinations going on there. The other thing I'll call out is I think the Claude system is able to leverage some of the notes. I think as they add support for actually integrating with the internet more seamlessly, I think it'd be even more powerful as an assistive tool to be able to literally make searches over internet outputs as we're doing some of the research around the market opportunity, the TAM, the past competitors and things like that. And so having that also woven into the system, I think, could be super powerful and would be like the next level of this, is not just having the LLM learn from its own existing weights and the notes from what we had, effectively like a RAG system, but actually have it do more like real-time search as we're writing out the memo. And then I think another call out here is, as this is, a lot of what I've shown here is the collaboration along the axis of me interacting with the AI, but you can also imagine interacting with it from the context of, or the collaborative aspects, which are me interacting with colleagues. And so one thing I haven't shown here, and to be honest, I don't think I have I'm not paying for the tier of Claude that is fully team-based. What you can do is just share the entire project with a teammate or share individual chats with teammates. In that case, you're literally reaping the benefits of my interaction with the AI system that another user could see, and ultimately even just use the project itself. So if we made a very general purpose project, for investment memos across any sort of company, then I could literally just share this with a teammate and say, hey, here's an existing project that I've already kind of tuned to our style, tuned to our way of writing memos. Go ahead, just talk to the system. And here's, in effect, your AI assistant, investment assistant, to go and write any arbitrary memo for any company, which is just awesome. I mean, this is like exactly those two modes of collaboration that we're interested in seeing in the next generation of AI tools. So video is a bit longer than the last one, but I hope it was still very useful. I think this is early days of a really cool way of interacting with AI systems, and looking forward to seeing more of this in the future. So thank you, and if you have any questions or comments, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'd love to help. Thank you.